Thank you so much for joining my YouTube channel. Man, I'm excited. We're doing a brief series on the Prodigal Son. And I love this. I love this parable. We read about it in Luke chapter 15. And I just want to kind of take it and look at it. You're like, I already know all about that. I know, but I want to propose to you that there's some cool things in here that Holy Spirit might speak to you about and show you some things that you didn't see or recognize before. So let's just take this time today for a brief moment and kind of just do an overview of the Prodigal Son. For some of us who know it really well, you can tell it better than me. For some of us who don't know, just hang on. Let's all get on the same page. So here's how it rolls. Jesus is giving a parable, a story, and he's teaching a lesson from this story. That's what a parable is, story with a lesson. So he talks about this dad, and this is Jewish times, right? And again, it's in Luke 15. There's a dad who has two sons, an older son and a younger son. The younger son comes to the dad and says, hey, I want my inheritance. At this time in history, especially in this culture, a Jewish culture, that's like the rudest thing a kid could do to his dad. He's like, hey, in so many words, this is what the undertone of that is, Dad, I wish you were dead because I want your money. That's in essence what this kid is saying to his dad. So it's considered ridiculous rude. I mean, like off the chart, massively disrespectful. And at this time in history as well, it's not like they could go to the bank and split it up, because wealth at this time in history was a lot of times kept with livestock. So it had to do with sheep or goats. How many head of sheep do you have? So in order to receive his part of the inheritance, the dad would have to basically liquidate, turn into some kind of money or exchange, all of the inheritance for both boys and give it to them. And this is before the dad is dead. I mean, these things don't happen. Normally, customarily, it happens when the father passes on, father dies. So this is a rude, super disrespectful request, but the dad honors it. The dad's like, okay. And he splits up the inheritance and he gives the portion, the eldest son gets his portion, the youngest son gets his portion. The youngest son goes and squanders his wealth, partying, riotous living, all kinds of bad stuff, using it in all the wrong ways. And the kid runs out of money, and then there's a famine in the land. So now he doesn't have a job, he has no money, so he winds up feeding pigs. And you can appreciate that for a Jewish boy, that's like the worst of the worst. And it says that he was so hungry, he wished he could eat the food of the pigs. And the story goes, he comes to his senses one day and says, you know, even my dad's servants get treated better than this. What if I go home and ask my dad, say, I don't deserve to be your son, but could I be your servant so at least I don't starve to death? So the son does that. He walks and makes his way home, and a long ways away, the father sees him. The father, in essence, it's like the father's watching, and the father runs to greet him and hugs him, falls on him, hugs him and kisses him, and says, I'm so glad you're home. And the son's like, Dad, I get it. You don't have to do this. I don't deserve to be here. Could I be your servant? And the dad is like, servant, nothing. And he calls up his own servants at home and says, hey, bring out a ring, put a ring on his finger, put sandals on his feet, put a robe on his shoulders. My son who is dead is now alive and home and back with us. We need to have a big party. And so they throw this giant party, kill the fatted calf, and there's this massive party going on. And here's what happens. The son is home, the dad's there, and the oldest son, remember he's in the mix at the beginning, he's out in the fields, and he hears all this party going on at home, and he calls one of the servants over, hey, what's going on? And the servant tells him, well, your little brother came home, and your dad's throwing a party to welcome him. Well, the oldest son is ticked off. How dare he? This is the kid who did all the wrong things, and now he's got all the right results. You can't do that. That's not fair. So the dad comes out to the oldest son, and they have a conversation. And the oldest son is like, Dad, I've been with you all these years. I did all the right things. I made sure to do everything according to what you wanted, your preferences. I deserve better than this. And the dad is like, yeah, but your brother who was lost, who was dead, is now home, and he's found, and he's alive. It's appropriate, it's proper that we should celebrate life. And this is how the story finishes. And I find it interesting because many of us have heard the story, and I think we can see this play out in our lives. For some of us, we would find our identity, feel an affinity with the younger son, because we did it all wrong. right? And you're like, woo, but for the grace of God. But some of us identify more with the older son. We didn't do all that stuff, right? We ran our life super clean. And sometimes if we're not careful, we resent the people that didn't do it right. And then if we're the ones who did it right, we feel awkward, inferior to the ones who did it all right. So how does that play out? And the deal is, these next couple weeks, we're going to look at each individual. We're going to look at the younger son, the older son, and the father, and see what that looks like for us. So thank you so much for watching. Love to have you subscribe. You can hit that little button right there. Subscribe to the channel. Give me some feedback. Comments are fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. And waiting for our joke, because this is what we all wait for. What do you get from a vampire in the winter? Frostbite. I know, super awful. And of course, next week is going to be way better. Thanks again for watching.